Hello guys, how are you doing? First of all, this is my first live streaming on Syrian analysis. I decided to do this after 1 year for after 1 year of Syrian analysis. Yesterday was the birthday of Syrian analysis. It's been almost 1 year. Now I will wait a little bit so that some people join to the live streaming, because I have some words to tell to our audience, to our followers, to our friends of Syrian analysis. I also want to tell our future projects in Syrian analysis. We have some brilliant ideas. And maybe I get some questions from you to answer about the recent situation in Syria, the developments, especially that today the Syrian army liberated an important military airbase called Abu Duhur military airbase, and also the recent developments in Afrin, where Turkey launched a military operation, an invasion in Afrin against the YPG and the Kurdish militias. First of all, I would like to thank everyone in Syrian analysis, whether they agreed with me or they disagreed with me, everyone who liked, shared, and subscribed on Syrian analysis, everyone who supported the channel, even if the support was verbally or on Facebook or on Twitter or any other social media outlets, because without the support of the followers of Syrian analysis and the friends, the real friends of Syrian analysis, we couldn't make, now I'm checking the numbers, it's 3,560,000 views in 1 year, with almost 14,228 subscribers. I think we have to work more on the subscriber thing, so please, I encourage you to ask also your friends and followers who are interested in Syrian analysis to come and subscribe to our channel in order to raise our voice and increase to spread our voice widely in the English speaking, among the English speaking audience. Now for our also the patrons of Syrian analysis, they were integral part for the success of Syrian analysis, because without the financial support of the patrons on Patreon, I will post the link later on in the comments, you can check it if you want to participate in supporting Syrian analysis, even if $1 per month, every month, it makes a big impact on the outcome of Syrian analysis, because it's almost a one-man show. I'm working alone on this channel, from recording to editing to posting and on social media management, etc., with the help of translators, of course, for several videos. So the financial help really helps me and for the channel as well. But what about the future plans? Are we going to continue in the same way? The editorial line or the policy of Syrian analysis will remain the same, but we will add, for the moment, 2 important programs. And when I say programs, it is like a TV program on Syrian analysis. It will be one by Marwa Osman. She is a very good journalist and political commentator from Lebanon. She will have her platform. I will give her a platform in Syrian analysis to give her opinion and comments on the developments, not only in Syria but also Lebanon, Bahrain, in Palestine, etc. So Marwa will have her own program. It's called Resist Now with Marwa Osman. We will agree on certain dates, 2 times per month or 3 times per month or 4 times per month, in order to have a short commentary on what's happening in the region. The other important declaration is that Professor Dr. Jamal Wakim, he is one of the best geopolitical minds in the region. He will have also his own program. It's called Geopolitical Analysis with Jamal Wakim. He will also give his in-depth insights and geopolitical analysis of the international crisis, especially in the Middle East. He will address these issues from a geopolitical angle. And he will have his also own program on Syriana analysis. I hope we can do on weekly basis. But tomorrow, I will post his first video on Syriana analysis, so stay tuned. Tomorrow at night, I will post his first video on Syriana analysis between 8 to 9 p.m. the German time. I don't know, calculate it. Maybe it's 10 p.m. In Syria and between 8 to 9 p.m. in Germany. So I will post his first ever video, and we will address also the Afrin issue because it's a very important one. Today, the Turkish regime declared that the beginning of the invasion of Afrin, of course, Turkish warplanes, the artillery are bombing Afrin. I have to tell everybody because I receive sometimes some comments. They say, "Oh, you hate the Kurds." Why should I hate the Kurds? The Kurds are integral part of the Syrian society. The Kurds, among all other spectrum, all other religious sects, communities, ethnicities of Syria, are integral part of the Syrian identity. If we exclude any one of these components, Syria won't be a Syria anymore. So we want everybody to live together. But when the Kurds wanted to have their own state on Syrian territories, at that time, I cannot be with them. It's very logic. Imagine that in Germany now maybe lives 1.5 million Kurds, and 3.5 to 4 million Turkish people, and one day they say, oh, we will have our own country in Germany because now we are 1.5 million. It's not logical because there is a constitution and there is international law and the recognized borders of the Syrian Arab Republic is there. And I am from Armenian background. I live in Syria as 100% Armenian citizen. So it's not possible. And what's happening with the Kurds now, it proves that the Kurds, they have bet on the wrong horse once again. They did the same in Iraq, and the Americans, they let them down. Now they also get all the support from the Americans and Israel in Syria, and once again, nobody's standing with them against the Turkey. Now, Turkish-backed forces, this so-called Free Syrian Army, they are carrying Turkish flags and they want to invade Afrin. The Turks are bombing from the air and from their artilleries, and they're killing a lot of civilians, by the way. And the official position of the Syrian Arab Republic is, we consider what's happening in Afrin as a blatant aggression against the Syrian sovereignty, because Afrin is an integral part of the Syrian state, and we cannot tolerate such an aggression from the Turkish side. So, but what the Syrian army can do, it doesn't have a real existence, a strong existence in Afrin, let's say, because the Kurds, they were refusing the return of the Syrian state institutions to Afrin. This is one of the questions that we have to address. I believe the win-win solution for the Afrin crisis is that to allow the restoration of the state institutions, the Syrian state institutions into Afrin. The Syrian army should enter to Afrin, the Syrian security forces should enter to Afrin, and the Kurdish militias and their forces can join the Syrian institutions. It's very normal. Armenians are fighting in the Syrian army, Christians fighting in the Syrian army, Sunni, Shiites, all the sects and religions are fighting in the Syrian army, and the Kurds also can join the Syrian army because it's for everybody. It cannot exclude anyone. So if the Kurds allow the Syrian army to enter Afrin, they will avoid a lot of bloodshed, and I believe the Turkish side will not oppose this solution, because the existence of the state institutions in Afrin will demolish this threat that the Turks are feeling, for the national security threat from the existence of a strong presence of Kurdish militias there. And on the other hand, the Kurds can live in peace with the Syrians. Nobody hates the Kurds. I don't hate the Kurds. Nobody hates the Kurds in Syria. We all want the Kurds to restore their sanity, to understand that they are some sort of like a gas in the fire of the Middle East. The Americans are using them. The Israelis are using them. They got rid of you in Iraq. They will do the same in Syria. Nobody wants to fight alongside the Kurds against Russia or against Syria or against any other party. This is something that the Kurds need to understand at this particular time. So this was a very short analysis of what's happening in Afrin. Be sure that the Syrian government will not accept the destruction of any component of the Syrian society in order to do concessions with Turkey. The Syrian government, they rely on the popular base in Syria. They don't rely on the blessing of Erdogan or any other regional or international government or leader. For 7 years, a lot of governments were saying Assad must go, Assad must go, Assad will go, Assad lost his legitimacy, Assad is a criminal, Assad will be in Hague, and so forth, so forth, so forth. And what happened after 7 years? Because the Syrian government didn't listen to these accusations, to these threats, they only relied on the popular base in Syria and also the help of their allies. They succeeded in one way or another to thwart the existential threat in Syria. But every day we have a new developments, and now we have to deal with the Afrin issue at a time that the Syrian army is they are rushing to liberate the eastern parts of Idlib. Today, the Syrian army liberated Abu Duhur military airbase. And what happened is that the al-Nusra Front and ISIS, they've been trapped in the eastern pocket of Idlib. They are besieged now. There is no way to... they are besieged in 1,400 kilometers square geography. And there are around 2,000 to 3,000 fighters in this area from these Islamist militants. So let's see what will be the fate of this. But what after Abu Duhur? I believe the Syrian army needs to secure the surrounding of Abu Duhur military airbase at least 10 to 15 kilometers in order to reconstruct what's been destroyed in the military base in Abu Duhur, and to relaunch its operations from this military airbase against the terrorist organizations such as Al-Nusra Front, the Turkestan Army, the Uyghurs, and many other terrorist groups in this part. So that was all what I wanted to deliver to you. Now I will try to check the comments just to see if there are any questions that I need to address here. Okay. So this is the first time I do this YouTube live streaming, and I'm not an expert in this, but my friend, when we say the Kurds are backed by the Jews, we don't perceive Israel as only a Jewish country. We perceive them as the Zionists. So the Kurds are not supported by the Jews themselves. The Kurdish separatists, let's be specific, they're supported by the Zionists, whether they are Jewish Zionists, whether they are Christian Zionists, whether they are Muslim Zionists. Now, they are also Muslim Zionists. I guarantee you there are people with Israel in the Arab world more than the Americans or in any part of the world, even more than the Jews themselves. The Syrian army currently focused on Idlib, no direct confrontation with... Yes, I don't think there will be a direct confrontation with Turkey at this moment. It's not in the national interest of Syria to have a direct confrontation with a country which is a NATO state. And we all know that the Article 6 of the NATO Charter, that if any NATO member country had a war with another country, that means the entire NATO is in war with that country. And I don't think the Syrian part will provoke, or let's say do a direct confrontation with them. Skipper, I'm good, brother. If you have any questions regarding the recent military operations and the developments in Syria, you can ask me anything. Show. Okay. Let's see the comments. If you replace, okay. My friend Muhammad Afiq, I always mention the Turkish intervention in the Syrian affairs since 7 years. I was one of the fiercest criticizers for the intervention of Erdogan and Turkey in the Syrian affairs. I did a lot of reports, and I posted many things, especially about the robbery of our companies from manufacturers, the Aleppo manufacturers from Aleppo to Turkey. Sinus, I believe, 32. I don't think the Syrian army will gun down Turkish warplanes. As I mentioned, Syria doesn't have an interest to have a direct confrontation with NATO state. Let's remember, Turkey is a NATO state, and behind Turkey there are many stronger countries that could harm Syria. Thank you, Muhammad Afiq. Destiny 98. The Syrian government tried to communicate with the Kurdish separatists in Afrin, and they suggested them to send Syrian army and Syrian security forces to restore the state institutions in Afrin. The Kurds refused this proposal. If the Kurds allow the Syrian government to come back to Afrin, Turkey will not have an excuse to strike Afrin. Afrin is a Syrian territory. The Kurds should allow the Syrian government to come back to Afrin, and the Kurds can live in peace in Afrin without any problems with the Syrian government. But if they think they can create their own state and they can resist all this Turkish invasion, I think they are mistaken. Thank you, Santama. Happy first birthday. Jose Vegas, can we share this live stream as a video? I think it's possible. I'm not sure. I will try to post it. Of course, if it's published, I will also share it on Facebook. Thank you very much, Ali Azhar Husseini. I'm very happy that you are following Syrian analysis, that I'm able to deliver something positive and informative to our audience. Hiayo, I will mention something to you because you say I'm Syrian and Islam is like a cancer. I want to mention this, my friend. In Syria, the majority of Syrians are Muslims, and the biggest victims of the war in Syria are the Muslims, and those who died in the Syrian army as martyrs, the vast majority of them are Muslims. So when my grandparents came to Syria 100 years ago, because we survived from the Armenian genocide and we went refugees to Syria, those who helped my grandparents, who saved us, were the Muslims. Of course, some Muslims nowadays, they get radicalized, and there are problems. In my opinion, there are problems in the Quran itself. But I'm not an expert in Islam to speak about this. But the majority of the Syrians, if the majority of the Syrians were radical Muslims, I believe President Assad wouldn't survive 2 weeks in Syria. So, in my opinion, the majority of the Syrians, they belong to a moderate Islam. They adopt the moderate Islam. So that's why we were able to survive after 7 years of war. Turgon, of course, there are secular forces in Syria. The Ba'ath Party itself, the ruling party, is secular. The Syrian Social Nationalist Party is a secular party. We have the Communist Party in Syria. We have Al-Sha'ab Party. We have many political parties. We have over, I believe, 10 political parties in Syria. And in the constitution itself, it's not allowed. It's not allowed. It's forbidden for any political party to be based on either religious sect or ethnicity. So most Syrian parties are secular, but we have to do more. We have our problems in Syria, and I believe the Syrian constitution has some problems, and especially in regards to full secularism. I don't think we can pick some things from secularism and refuse the others. That's why, in my opinion, I believe the best option for Syria, for example, is to abolish Article 3 from the Syrian constitution, which says the president should be a Muslim. The second is to have a civil code. When I say civil code, that means all Syrians should be judged in front of one civil law that is based, that's been put by people, civil people, not by Quran, not by the Bible, not anything else. Santama, I'm not really following now what's happening in the eastern banker of the Euphrates, but unfortunately the Kurdish separatists, they are in control of many gas fields now in that area, and of course with the support of the Americans, and this is the investment of the Americans in this area and also in north and eastern Syria in order to have a Kurdish canton that disconnects Syria from Iraq and eventually from Iran. The American geopolitical interest is to disconnect Syria from its outside world, but since they failed to do this with the Jordanian border, with the Israeli border, with the Turkish, and soon with the Turkish border, and also we have the Mediterranean, of course, so they are trying to block the access of the Iranians and the Syrians in order to have an easy route between Tehran to Baghdad, to Damascus, and then to Lebanon. And we all know that this is one of the reasons for the American investment in the war in Syria. And the Kurds are only tools in this, unfortunately, and they will be the biggest loser in this war if they continue in their policy. That's why when I criticize their behavior, that doesn't mean I hate the Kurds. That means we are trying to wake them up and tell them, just restore your sanity, man. You are one part of the Syrian society, and you cannot create your own state and create like a peninsula. You know, they are creating a peninsula surrounded by enemies. Who can survive in an area surrounded by enemies, and no one will buy their oil, no one will trade with them? So it's a lose-lose situation for them. They have to restore their sanity, and they have to understand that there is a limit of their power, and that in front of a state like the Syrian state, they are a non-state actor, and they are not able to cope with the power of the Syrian army. Okay. You're asking crazy questions, guys. Yes, classic video games. I always speak to the Syrian girl. She's my friend. Ali Azhar, in my opinion, the biggest part of the war will end at the end of this year after the liberation of Idlib, and after that we will see what will happen with the Kurds. I think the problem of the Kurds will be solved, or should be solved, on the negotiation table, especially in Sochi and in Astana. And after that there will be a redrafting of the Syrian constitution, and parliamentary elections and presidential elections. So if we say at the end of 2018 we get rid of, let's say, we liberate most part of Syria, in 2019 we redraft the constitution, and maybe in 2020 maybe in 2019, I don't know, we do one more time elections with the participation of Assad and other candidates, and in my opinion Assad will have the biggest share of the votes in any free democratic elections, even if it is monitored by the UN. Language game, unfortunately I'm not very optimistic about the social structures in the Middle East. I believe after this war a lot of people became more sectarian and more radical, and for example, some of the minorities isolated themselves from other minorities, from other groups. We have a lot of social problems. At the moment we are only solving the Syrian crisis from the military angle, but unfortunately the social aspects of the problem in Syria, it needs a lot of time. That's why democracy doesn't work at the moment. The real democracy, when I say democracy, it's not equal to elections. The political freedoms, the social freedoms, the religious freedoms, and all these things, we need a lot of time. We are having our own problems, just like the Europeans had few decades ago, and we need to pass from these problems in order to create a real society, a better society, that all groups respect each other and live together, coexist together in peace. Thank you. Muhammad Afiq, I mentioned that the plan is to we will have two new programs on Syrian analysis. One will be by Marwa Osman, the second will be by Professor Dr. Jamal Wakim. We will have regular videos by these two experts on Syrian analysis, and beside this, after 2 weeks I have a very important exam, German course exam. When I finish this exam, this will be my priority. Okay, I will do the website this time in order to let's say publish news and analysis, written news and analysis on Syrian analysis website. I live in Stuttgart. In Germany, I live in Stuttgart, and this is my studio. I have this screen and this very weak laptop, but it's a good one, and this is my background where I work, and you can see all the mess here, and this is the place that in my room. We did a very good job in this 1 year, and I would like to thank you all for all the support you gave to me, either verbally, either in comment, or like, share, and everything for Syrian analysis. It was a great help, and I would like to thank the patrons who donated and still donating for Syrian analysis. If you want to be a part of the patrons, I will post the link in the comments below. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. This was my first live streaming on YouTube, and hope to see you soon. Tomorrow, stay tuned. I will post the first video of Professor Dr. Jamal Wakim between 7 and 8 p.m. the German time. See you tomorrow.